Bridget, a good evening. We are live streaming. We've got Brandy from Oregon in the US. Hello, welcome. Elizabeth from Tennessee. Nice to see all the USA. Yes, Stacey's in Florida. All the Americans are in the house. Hello, good evening, the Americans. I am super excited to be here with you all today. So welcome. And I'll probably be just allowing extra people into the room. So welcome aboard, everybody. I'm super excited to be here with you. I'm just going to quickly stop sharing my screen so I can connect with you all and see your beautiful faces. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Stacey. Hi, Craig. I know a few of you. Welcome, Elizabeth. I hope that you're feeling much better. Glad to have you here. So we've got a few beautiful souls in the house. So just before we kick off, I would love to know, has anybody in the room learned NLP before? I know a few of you have. So if you have learned NLP, simply type yes in the chat box. If you've not learned NLP before or you're not 100% familiar with it, just put no, not yet, or a little bit. Let us know how much you know about it. Beautiful. So little bit, not yet. Amazing. So my goal for you today is I'm going to share with you about what NLP is. And for those of you who already know NLP, I hope that you're going to get some value out of today and really understand how you can utilize the things that you already have in your toolkit. And for those of you who don't know about NLP, I'm going to share some insight with you. So please do feel free to use the chat box if you've got any questions, and we'll go from there. Welcome, Tahi. Welcome, Craig. Nice to see you. Welcome, Andrew. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to kick off today's sessions. So let me just make sure that I can see the right screen. Just bear with me. Beautiful. So NLP, for me personally, changed my life. So NLP was amazing. It was a great tool that helped me become way more impactful as a leader, as a coach, as a salesperson, but also as an individual. So NLP really did help me change my life in so many ways. And I really want to share with you what NLP actually is. So Neuro-Linguistic Programming, for those of you that don't know, it's a world-class framework that was developed back in the 1970s by Richard Brandler, and it explores the connection between our neurology, our brain function, our neurological processing, our language, and the behavior that it actually outputs. So everything that we think, everything that we feel, all of our actions and all of our behaviors are actually coming from an unconscious program that's operating pretty much on autopilot in the background. And so once we actually understand that, we have the capacity to actually utilize it more effectively to influence ourselves, but also to understand the people that we're working with, whether they're clients, whether they're team members, whether they're family, children, friends. So once we understand what a neurological process is that an individual is actually using, then we can actually utilize NLP to work more closely with that individual. So who here would love to have better rapport and stronger, deeper connections with people? Who would like to understand people in general a little bit better? Yeah, so that's what NLP really is. It helps us understand individuals, and it helps us understand what is the program that they are operating. Some of your awesome favorite peeps here as well in the house. Good, Tahi, amazing. So there'll be a few people coming in, so I'll just let them in as we go. So NLP itself is a toolkit that offers us practical techniques to enhance our communication skills, our influence skills, and also our own personal development. So I stumbled across NLP personally about 7 years ago, and now I've been teaching and certifying other individuals in it for the last 5 years. And is it similar to the NEPQ system? I'm not 100% sure exactly what that is, Elizabeth. Are you able to unpack what NEPQ stands for? And I might have a little bit deeper insight. That would be amazing. So for coaches, NLP can help us help our clients overcome their limiting beliefs to achieve their goals. Also helps us become more self-aware, helps us become more aware of our clients. And by utilizing great language skills, it helps us help our clients understand their own emotional processing and what's happening for them at the unconscious level. So it really does increase our ability to communicate way more effectively. So neuro-emotional persuasion questioning. Yeah, so I guess it would be very similar to that. So NLP is probably the whole toolkit. NEPQ is probably just some of the language piece that's really utilizing persuasive questioning to really speak directly into somebody's unconscious mind, if that makes sense, which we'll be dialing into. Yeah. So I hope that's super helpful. So what is influence? Who here would love to have way more influence, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your friends, your family, your clients? So influence, realistically, it's about the art of cultivating trust with a person. So it's trust, it's about credibility, it's about your impact and your ability to guide other people as well as yourself towards positive change. So it involves leveraging your expertise, leveraging your experience, and leveraging communication skills to either inspire or persuade or empower your clients or your team or your partners. So who here believes that you can persuade somebody if you can inspire them? So if you can actually inspire somebody or evoke a particular positive emotion in somebody, then you're more likely to be able to influence that person to make a decision. So 100%, yeah. So it's an effective influencer understands how to communicate effectively, but it's also about understanding the unique challenges and needs of your particular audience. So whether that's a client or a child or a partner, it's being able to understand what is that person's unique need, because everybody operates very individual. So in the world around us, the world itself is a combination of anywhere up to 30 million bits of information per second happening, but each of us is having a very individual experience of the world around us. So our reality is simply a construction of our current programming. And so we are all having a very unique experience. And so when we can understand our client's unique experience, that's when we have the ability to influence their experience. Does that make sense? Because we're able to understand that client's specific model of the world. So the more we're able to understand that person's unique need or their challenge, then we can tailor our approach in order to be able to help them understand us better. But we first need to understand their model of the world. And so our ability to influence is also that we embody what we teach to others as well. So thought leaders, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, we can literally harness the power of NLP to facilitate meaningful transformations, build lasting relationships, and help people achieve sustainable success. So the difference with what NLP and traditional therapy is, a lot of traditional style therapy is basically where somebody will go and they rely on the therapist or the doctor or the mentor to give them answers. Where the difference with NLP is we use very similar to what Elizabeth was asking about, the persuasive questioning. All learning behavior and change happens at the unconscious level for a client. So if you can, who here has ever heard the saying, if you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. So NLP is very much comes from that concept or that principle, is we're working with a client to teach them at the unconscious level. And then once they learn it at the unconscious level, then they can create lasting change. So that's the difference with what NLP is. It's really about influencing others, but in a way that they can achieve sustainable success. So how do we actually increase our influence? So rapport is one of the biggest things, and that's where you're creating that level of likability, trust. You're building that relationship with people. So who here has ever purchased, say, a coaching program? And now there's 101 coaches out there that might sell you a particular program, but you choose the person you want to work with based on the way you feel about that person. Who would agree? Yeah. Or who has ever gone to purchase a product before? There's 101 people out there that sell the same product, but you're more likely to buy from the person that you feel more connected to. Would you agree? So this is the importance of rapport, and this is what we teach in NLP, is how to build a strong sense of rapport and what that looks like and feels like between you and your client. It's also about trust. So when you're working with a client or a team member or a family member, if you want to persuade somebody, they must trust you. And so this is something that for those of you, just out of curiosity, who here is in business for themselves or a coach? Just type yes into the chat box if you are. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if your clients trust you, they have basically three questions in their unconscious mind. Is number one, do you actually care? And that's where the rapport piece comes in. Can they trust you? And can you help them solve their problem? So they are the three main questions that a person will have before they're going to choose to buy from you. So if a client's very resistant or they don't want to come and buy your product or your programming service, usually it's one of those three things. Is either you don't have a strong enough connection with that person, or they haven't built a level of trust for you, or they don't feel that you can actually solve their problem. So communication is such a huge piece, because you've got to be able to communicate all of those things to that client. So you've got to be able to understand what's happening inside their unconscious mind, and you've got to be able to communicate to that exactly. So is it their belief system? Is it that lack of rapport? Is it that they don't feel connected? Is it that they're uncertain? So an uncertain mind won't make a decision. So it's you've got to be able to communicate. What questions do they have? Do they trust you? You know, is there that strong connection between you and them? It's also about awareness and understanding. So in order to influence somebody, you must become fully aware of where that person is, if that makes sense. So where are they in their unconscious mind? What do they need the most amount of help with? What's unique to them, or what is their unique proposition, if that makes sense? So how do you understand that client? Are you aware of what that client actually needs? And then it's the understanding of where are they coming from? What is it specifically that they need? It's also about having empathy. So one thing that we learn in NLP is, how do you actually have empathy for a client? You know, there's no judgment when it comes to NLP, because we understand that people are not their behaviors. People aren't where they are just because they're choosing consciously to be there. Who here's ever ended up in a place in your life and you've asked yourself the question, oh my gosh, how did I end up here? How did this happen to me? Or how did I end up here? Right? So it's because of our unconscious programming why we are where we are in our lives right now. And so when we fully understand the complexity of this, which is what we also teach in NLP, is you have empathy for a client, because you understand that they are literally just operating off a particular type of program for where they are now. And it's also about authenticity. And I love the who would agree that we are moving more into a society where people can smell BS a mile away. People can smell fake a mile away. So we've had this world of influencers where people are posing with private jets and Lamborghinis and all these cars and stuff. But the more authentic we actually are, the deeper rapport we can build with people, that authenticity, that trust, that communication, that understanding. And people feel more connected to us. The more real and authentic we are, people feel more connected to us. And the ability to persuade people, and I'm going to share with you some communication techniques so you can actually persuade somebody from a place of ecology and integrity as well. So influence requires true understanding of your audience and awareness of their unconscious emotional drivers. So once you understand fully how a client is operating at the unconscious level, you have the capacity to influence that person. So who here does sales, or is in sales, or is selling something? Yep. So who here would love to have a 90% conversion rate, 80 to 90% conversion rate? Yes. So once you understand your client, you have the capacity, because let me share this with you, and I hope that you all take this on board. If you have a client that interacts or engages with anything of yours, if they book in for an appointment, it means that they're already 80% interested in what you do. So your job then is just to fill in the gaps for them. So if they've made a time or an effort to actually speak to you, they pretty much already want what you've got. So all they're doing is the confirmation piece by having a chat with you. And that confirmation piece is them wanting to know is, do you care? Do you actually understand them? Can they trust you? And can you actually help them solve their problem? Now, where a lot of people get this wrong is they don't find the need in the client. So they don't understand the individual. Who here's ever, gotten on the phone with somebody and they've just literally spewed their garbage all over you verbally? Like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I can do. This is my program. This is my product. This is my service. And they really don't care about you. So your clients want to know that you actually care about them. So if you're doing coaching and you're using pitch decks, the pitch deck should be the last 5 minutes of that conversation piece. The rest of it should be you asking lots of great questions. So I'm going to share with you some sales techniques here that can really help you with that piece as well. So some major areas of influence, and I'll run through these individually with you, is leadership. So your ability to become a great leader requires you to be a great influencer in these areas. So if you can influence the vision of your clients, like if you're a visionary and you can create that vision for your team or for your clients, that future vision, they are going to see you as the leader that can take them on that future journey. So your ability to influence their future vision is huge, and you can use that in the way that you communicate with them. They want to be inspired by you. So it's about inspiring them to be the best versions of themselves, empowering them. So this is why you want to really learn the art of helping the client become empowered. So when you're teaching your clients something, you want to empower them so they learn it at the unconscious level. So then they feel empowered that they can do it way after the coaching process ends with you. Does that make sense? So they feel inspired, they feel nourished, they remember you as the person that helped them change their life or whatever that was. They also, the more charismatic you can be. Strategy is also important. So strategy and empathy is hugely important in leadership. So to become a great leader, they want to know that you care, you're empathetic, you've got the right strategies, you can empower them with the gifts that they need, and that you can create the future vision for their success as well. So that's some of the influential techniques that a great leader needs. Communication is also a huge area in influence. So using language that is persuasive, that's very engaging, to be able to engage the audience. Now, how would you engage your audience in conversation? You want to take them on that emotional journey. You want to connect in, you want to be relatable. So you want to be able to speak into their unconscious, if that makes sense. Share story, share something that's engaging, be authentic, be relatable for them. You want to use precision and directional language and utilization. And so I'll share with you on this, like precise language, for instance. You can do something with your clients, which is basically, if you understand how your client's unconscious mind works, you can help utilize a past experience in your client, or you can create a vision for the future. So in NLP, we teach about directionalized language. So if I have a client who's going through a really hard time and they don't believe that they can do something for the future, and they can't, like the future's looking bleak for them, I might help them recall a past vivid memory when they had success in their career. And I'll say, can you remember a time in your career where you had success? And then they'll say, yes. And then I'll say, can you remember a specific time? I want you to go back to that time now, see what you saw, hear what you heard, and now I want you to drop in and feel what that felt like. And so I'm taking them on a journey, right, back into the past, so they can connect into how they were resourceful back then. They can actually utilize that and bring it into the now. Or I can use directionalized language, like in the future. So I might say, I want you to go out to a time now in the future, and I want you to visualize you with that client that you spoke to today. I want you to visualize that you're actually working with that client. And so you can future pace them. So that's directionalized language. So you want to be very precise with the language that you're utilizing with your clients. Another utilization technique, right, is I work with amazing people right across the globe. And I connect with a lot of religious people. And so I had this amazing client, and she's very highly religious. And so she has such a strong connection to her creator and her God. Now, when I was coaching her, who do you think is going to have more power in her mind, me or her God? Her God, right? So it doesn't matter what I say, because it doesn't have that depth of meaning and connection inside her heart. So I utilize her creator to empower her. So I ask her questions, and I say, when she's feeling down about herself or something, I might say to her, what would your creator think if you were not utilizing your gifts today? Your creator has given you these gifts. What does your creator want you to do with this? And then all of a sudden, I've taken myself out of the equation. I've taken her mind out of the equation, and we've connected into something that is so powerful and so meaningful to her. And all of a sudden, she's taking massive action because she believes she's being driven from something that's higher than herself. Does that make sense? So that's the power of utilization. Same thing if I'm working with a parent, a mother, and she's feeling down and out about herself, and she's not taking care of her health and her wellness, and she's self-sacrificing rather than self-nourishing, and she's like utilizing the kids, like, oh, I've got to do this, and the kids need me to do that, and running around these kids, and I don't have time for my exercise. And then I know that how strong she feels about her children, so I can utilize that and say, how can you use your children as an excuse for your health? What would your children think if they knew that you were using them as your excuse for not looking after yourself? And all of a sudden it flips the perspective. And then I can also ask the question is, what are you teaching your children at the unconscious level by not looking after yourself? What do you think your children are learning by seeing that? And then all of a sudden she becomes very aware of who she's being for her children, and what sort of things she's teaching them unconsciously. So utilization is a very powerful way of persuading clients from a place of integrity and ecology. It's just understanding how to utilize it effectively. Is that helpful, by the way? Beautiful. So in coaching, your ability to become a great coach is, your ability to motivate your clients. So, and now I want to share this. When it comes to motivation, some people are motivated by away from, and some people are motivated by towards. So towards what they want, towards pleasure, towards their goals, whereas some people are actually motivated by the pain. So, it's important that we recognize what is our client's unconscious motivational strategy. Are they motivated by away from or towards? And how can we utilize that in our coaching abilities as well? So our ability to also transform, help our clients have transformations, that's going to influence the client even more. It's also about being supportive and insightful and empathetic. And it's also about understanding your client's level of consciousness as well. So as a coach, I want to share this piece because the presenting problem is never usually the problem, right? Who would agree? Who here knows that we have an unconscious mind? That unconscious mind works 95% of the time. So it's our unconscious mind that is actually producing our internal representations, our thoughts, our feelings, and ultimately outputting our behavior and getting the results that we're getting. So it's not the results and it's not the behavior that we're doing, it's what's actually driving that behavior. So the more we can tap into being aware of the client's level of consciousness and their insight and understanding as to what might be driving that behavior. And I say this, that the presenting problem is never usually a problem. So, and I'll share a story around this. I was working with a client, she came to me for business coaching, and she had an e-commerce business, which was making $40,000 US per month online. And it was doing great guns for probably about, 4 or 5 months. And then all of a sudden the business started going downhill and being sabotaged. And then she reached out to me for business coaching. And then very quickly into the coaching process, I asked her I think it was in our first session, at the end of our first session, I asked her a question. I said, tell me something. I said, what motivated you to start that business in the first place? Why did you start the business in the first place? And she said to me, it was to escape my marriage. So she was having marriage problems. They'd been having marriage problems for years. Her husband was the only breadwinner in that family, and she had no way of leaving and no way of, being able to support herself outside of the marriage. So she decided to start the business. Now, what happened unconsciously is she created this amazing business. Then all of a sudden, the unconscious mind is going, well, now that you're financially secure, now it's time to take action and leave. And she wasn't ready to face the dynamics of breaking the family apart and going through the marriage, divorce, all of that sort of stuff. So because she started unconsciously feeling the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt started creeping in, unconsciously she started sabotaging the business. So this is why it's important for us to understand what is being driven at the unconscious level and what's creating the behaviors, because more often than not, the clients are very unconscious as to why they're behaving in a particular way. Yeah. So same as procrastination, right? Who has ever procrastinated? So procrastination is often driven by fear or uncertainty, either fear of success, fear of failure, fear of what will people think, or it could be, driven by a lack of clarity. So procrastination seems to be the thing, why I'm always procrastinating, but it's actually driven much more unconsciously by something deeper. So in sales, we can use NLP to influence sales. And by this, it's about building rapport, asking great questions, identifying the client's actual need for your program. So you might have a great program that offers, say, 8 to 10 different dot points of different types of things in your service, but every client that you work with is going to have a very different need. So it's about identifying that need first before you provide the solution for the client, because otherwise you're just verbalizing all of this stuff that's not really important to your client. Does that make sense? So it's about finding their need first and then providing the solution or linking the value of your program or product or service to them, and so being able to solve that problem. And it's also about creating clarity. So a confused mind is not going to purchase anything. So it's about really understanding that the client, that you've answered all their questions, that they have a full understanding of what is involved in your program or your product or your service. And NLP can be used to influence ourselves, by the way. So NLP can be used to build our own confidence. It can be used to change our beliefs or understand our limiting beliefs and remove those limiting beliefs. It can also be used to realign our values to certain things. Can be used to identify our attitude and actually, change our attitude around certain things. Can be used for discipline, decisions, actions, all of these amazing things. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to please either bring yourself off mute or type into the chat box and I'll answer them as I go. So mastering leadership, there's two main areas, is creating vision and also having great strategy. So if you want to become a more effective leader, you've got to be able to create the vision for your clients. So remarkable leaders have a great ability to create a vivid mental picture of the future for their clients. So that's how they motivate. So they use sensory-rich language to describe the desired outcomes. They engage their team. They create the imagination and they evoke the emotion in their team. Who here has ever been to a Tony Robbins event? You go into the room and you feel absolutely unstoppable and powerful, and you've got this great vision for the future. Now, the only problem with that is you go into a full day event and you're in the room and there's lots of energy in the room, and then you go back home and then all of a sudden that energy starts to fizzle out a little bit. So you've got to have the strategy to maintain and sustain that as well. So, great leaders. I've attended many Tony Robbins events. Yes, Marie. And I'm sure that you love it. It's so interesting when I speak to people who've attended Tony Robbins, they've actually attended multiple times because they're craving that experience, right? That vision, that thing. How many times have you been, Marie? I would love to know. So a great leader knows how to create positive emotions and, to that vision. So creating excitement, passion, confidence, all of those sorts of things. Now, the strategy piece, NLP leaders can leverage a range of practical tools, things such as like creating SMART goals. Who here's ever had pipe dreams? Like, one day I'll do this, one day I'll do that, and one day I'm going to buy this nice house, and I just want a big house, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to be rich. So when we're saying these sorts of things, like I'm going to have a farm one day, or I'm going to take the family on an overseas trip one day, or I'm going to be rich, like, they're not SMART goals because they don't have a specific measurable amount to it and a target. So the more SMART goal we create, the more clarity around each of those goals, that's going to help our reticular activating system to actually find opportunities and possibilities to actually go after that. Things like Myers-Briggs. So Myers-Briggs is our unique personality profiles. So it's what are our strengths, our weaknesses, who are we at our core? How do we tap into more of our genius zone by understanding our Myers-Briggs? Clear communication is also a great one. I've been a bouncer at one of his after parties. That's amazing. Can't believe that that's pretty cool. You were a bouncer at one of the after parties. That's amazing. That's something to put on the, to brag about. So it's also about understanding meta programs. So if you've never heard of meta programs, we've got 54 different types of meta programs, and they're our operating styles, but they're all very unique to each of us as individuals. So our meta program might be towards or away from. It might be introvert versus extrovert. It might be, our chunk size filter. Are we more global or are we specific? So we've got all these different types of meta programs. We've got high and low convincer levels. So when you can understand individuals' meta programs, you can actually create more effective strategies to work with individuals as such. NLP sales processing, anchoring techniques, negotiations, modeling, chunking. They're just a few of the tools that any successful leader who understands NLP, you can adopt those tools to create rock solid strategies for your clients, pretty much for any mission or goal. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Any questions on that, by the way? Beautiful. For those of you who are NLP certified, I really encourage you to recognize and take notes of what are some of the tools that you're not utilizing, and what do you think that you would be more beneficial for where you're at right now in your business to motivate yourself, but also to motivate more of your clients as well. So for mastering coaching, for those of you that are coaches, a couple of the key elements is communication. Communication is pretty much everything. So language is one of the key components of NLP, and language provides a much deeper insight into your client's model of the world. So if you've learned NLP before, we have what's called the meta model and the Milton model. So Milton model is the different types of language patterns. The meta model is helping us identify, based on your client's filters, what is it that they're deleting, distorting, and generalizing from reality. So like I mentioned before, there's anywhere up to 30 million bits of information happening at any one time. But as an individual, our unconscious mind can only take in about 128 bits per second, and we're only consciously aware of 5 to 7 chunks. So the reality that we are living as an individual is literally just a construction based on our filters. And our filters are what's deleted, distorted, and generalized reality itself. So by understanding communication, we're able to identify what is that client-specific model of the world, and what is it that they have deleted, distorted, or generalized, and how can we actually open up their mind to bring in more of the stuff that they can't see or that they haven't been made aware of. So what is it that's outside of their awareness? So communication is a really effective tool that we can utilize with our clients. And it's also an effective tool that we can understand as practitioners to understand that client's model of the world. And when we understand them, that's when we have the ability to really work with them most effectively. So knowing your audience is key. So understanding their pain points, what is their deep desires, what are their highest values, what are their, are they towards or away from motivated? So the more you know that client, the more you have the ability to actually influence them. Who would agree? So realistically, your ability to build rapport and understand the client, that's your key. That's one of your key elements as a coach, is you have to know that client. So who he would love, 80 to 90% conversion rate, who he wants more success with your clients. So the way you get that is by truly understanding that client. So the more you know them, and the more you know what's happening for them unconsciously, the more ability you have to persuade and influence them. The other thing is creating lasting change. So there's 3 major elements in coaching. So the first element is to identify underperformance. So if somebody's reaching out to you for a call, for, interested in your program, your product, your service, the reason why they're reaching out in the first place is because they are underperforming in some area of their life. They're reaching out because they know they're not where they want to be. So our element as a coach is to identify that underperformance. So we have to recognize what is it that that client truly needs, and not what is the surface structure, but what is the deep structure of it. So the presenting problem is not usually the problem. So it's our duty as their coach to identify the underperformance, but also to identify what's actually driving that underperformance. And then it's our ability to increase and enhance their performance for them. So what skills, what tools, what techniques can we implement to help that client increase and enhance their performance? And then it's about future performance. So a great coach is somebody who can work with a client, and then that client can leave after the coaching cycle ends, and then they can do it on their own. Now, there's a difference between, accountability coaching versus like transformation coaching, that sort of stuff. So when you're doing a transformation, you want to empower the client. So once they've gone through the process with you, they're out there, they're doing what they want to do with their life because they feel empowered, and you've given them the tools and techniques at the unconscious level so they can create lasting success. Yeah. Any questions on that? Okay, beautiful. So to master sales, who here wants to master their sales and close more deals, get more paying clients? So the first step is building massive rapport. So building massive rapport is like really about understanding the client, finding common interests, finding what they're good at, understanding them, really building that strong communication, that strong rapport, building trust with them, asking lots of great questions. Now, the purpose of asking great questions is actually to find the client's need. So you might have a great program, product, service. However, everyone's going to want something different. It's like when you go to buy a new car. Imagine you've got a mother and father, and they go to the car dealership, and they've got a family of 6 kids plus them two. They're probably going to be looking for a different car to a man who's just in his 50s, who's separated from his wife, and he wants to go find a woman half his age, and he wants to drive around in a hot car, right? So 2 very different buying needs for those people. So it's about identifying that client's need, because otherwise you're going to be showing them the whole entire car yard, and a lot of it's not going to be what they're looking for. So then you're just going to turn them off. So you need to ask great questions, find their specific need, and then is linking the value of your program, product, or service to their needs. So what's the solution that you can provide for them? And number 5, it's not number 0, it's number 5, is closing the sale. So the closing the sale piece this is what we teach in the business coaching program, is how do you have your payment links and platforms ready to go? How easy is it for them to actually give you money? Now, I'll share a quick story on this. I have a JB Hi-Fi mobile SIM card in my phone, which is operated by Telstra. Now, Telstra has been a mobile communication network for tens of thousands of years, probably not that many, but it's been around for a very long time. Now, I had a prepaid SIM card, but because it comes through a different provider, for the last 3 months, it's been very difficult for me to pay my bill, and it's been a rigmarole, and I'm going backwards and forwards. And they was telling me I didn't have a product with them, and I didn't have any kind of contract with them, and they couldn't find my paperwork anywhere. And this has been an ongoing headache for quite some time. And then last weekend I went to buy a couch from a furniture place, and literally she just rang me over the phone. She's like, yep, go home, measure it up, and then we'll turn this quote into a sale. And as soon as I rang her back and I said, yep, it fits, I want to purchase, she sent me a link, and within 2 seconds flat, I was able to pay my money there and then. So she made it an extremely seamless process for me to give her my money. So you've got to be able to, if you're in sales, you've got to have a very streamlined process for people to make it very easy for them to give you their money. So closing the sale is just as important as the rest of the piece as well, because if it's clunky or if it's difficult for them to pay you, they're less likely to pay you. If they can't pay you there on the spot and it's quick and it's seamless, then they're likely to change their mind in part of that process. So for self-mastery, NLP is amazing for self-mastery. So think of, this is just a few of the things that you can use it for, but our belief system. So Henry Ford has an amazing saying, and it's like, whether you think you can or can't do something, either way you are right, because you're thinking it or you're believing it, right? So he's been in business and thought, oh my God, I hope this works. I really hope this works. If you say, I hope this works versus like, I know this is going to work, there's a completely different frequency that happens unconsciously. So our beliefs are not inherently true to us. They're simply constructed perceptions that we have that can be changed. So our beliefs, and I want you to try this on for a moment, our beliefs are always preceded by a decision. So a limiting belief was at some point in our life preceded by a particular decision. So there was a particular moment in time where that belief was created. And so NLP can help us actually go back through timeline therapy and actually remove the decision that was made then in that time, and it eliminates the belief. So super cool. So our beliefs, whether you think you can or can't do something, either way you are correct. Now, I invite you, if you've got any limiting beliefs, reach out to an NLP practitioner and, make sure you get them sorted out, because they will be the things that hold you back. Now, our values, and I want to share this with you, our values are the core drivers of our behaviors and our decisions. So it's not necessarily what we like, but it's more so what's important to us. So supposing if I'm working with a client, say she's a mum, she's got two children, she loves her children dearly, she's also married, and she's also a volunteer at her church. And her highest values are her career, her relationship, and her religion. Now imagine she's coming to me for a fitness program, and then all of a sudden she's not showing up to her sessions. Now, I might ring her and I might go, hey, I didn't see you today. Where were you? And then she goes, I'm so sorry. I had to go pick up the kids. You know, my daughter was sick and I had to go pick up the kids. That's a very valid excuse, right? Or she might say, I'm sorry, my church rang and they really needed me to go in there. Now, the reason why is because they are her highest values. It's not that she doesn't value her health. It just means that it's lower down on the value scale for her. So as coaches or for ourselves, it's for us to recognize, like, what are our highest values, what takes priority over our actions and our behaviors. And so if something goes wrong in those higher value areas, we're more likely to tend to those things first before the goals that we've set out for ourselves. So through NLP, we can actually realign some of those values or link some of the values to our current goals and things that we're working towards. Another important area is our attitude. Now, who here's ever woken up and you're in a terrible mood for the day and you're kind of dragging around that energy for a few hours into your morning? Yeah, so that's just our attitude, right? And our attitude plays a crucial role in self-mastery. So it influences how we perceive and respond to challenges and opportunities. So NLP gives us opportunities to shift those perspectives, shift those attitudes, and maintain more positive attitudes. And a big thing there is like pattern interrupting ourselves. So I use anchors, I use pattern interrupting techniques. Who has ever woken up feeling tired? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're feeling tired for the first hour or until you get your cup of coffee and you rely on the coffee to give you your spring in your step for the day. Now, there's a way that you can quickly override that thought, and it's basically, you know, an anchoring technique. And so your mind, when it goes from dream state to waking state, all of a sudden goes looking for its identity. So it will sort of wake up and it's like, oh, my neck is sore. Oh, I didn't sleep very well. And oh, geez, I'm feeling tired. And then you get up and you sort of mope around and get dressed for work, but you've got that energy running through your body. So you can change that instantly at any given time with a quick pattern interrupt technique. And so when I wake up, as soon as I put my feet out of my bed, I'm like, I'm awake, I'm alive, and I'm energized. And I say it over and over again until my body actually believes it. And I've done it so many times now that it's almost instantaneous, but it actually changes the biochemistry that's being released in the body. So at any given time, we are like every thought that we have, every feeling that we have has a particular type of energy signal that goes with it. So we are energy. And we are continuously bathing every single cell of our body. So I want to share this with you. The emotion of anger, right? If you're feeling angry or frustrated about something, it's a very low vibrational emotion. And if you have unresolved anger over time, it can actually cause heightened cholesterol and heart problems, right? So who here has ever been angry and bitter about something and you just can't get it out of your system, and you can feel it in your nervous system, right? Because it has a particular type of contracted energy signature to it, and it's creating that energy in the body. So it's really important that we as individuals understand how to reprogram our nervous system at any given time, because we are energy, and the longer we stay in a lower vibration frequency, all we're doing is putting harm on the rest of our body. So being able to change our attitude at any given time, even recognizing for ourselves, is what are environments or people or things that increase our energy, and what are the energy drains. So they could be people in our environment, they could be the workplace, they could be family members. Who here knows when you walk into a certain environment or around a certain person and you can just feel your energy start to get zapped? It's just like, oh God, get me out of here. Who's ever felt like that before? Yep. So when it's important that we recognize this within ourselves, recognize what are our energy drains, and be committed to spending less time in those places. And it's also, how do we change our energy as soon as we remove ourselves from that environment? Because who has ever been, say you've, had a family gathering and something went down and it drained your energy, and all of a sudden you've left that environment, but you're still stuck in that energy. Who's ever felt that? And it's just put you in a funk for the day, right? So you're able to change that attitude, change that energy signature. And we use things like pattern interrupting and priming and anchoring, and we can use different types of techniques to actually change that. And so I want you to be mindful of this, because we are constantly bathing every cell of our body, and it's either with positive or with negative. It's either contracted or expanded energy. And whenever we're in contraction, which is a lower vibrational frequency, we're causing sickness and harm to our body. So we want to be in the higher vibrational frequency as often as possible, because that's when we're tapping into our body's innate blueprint of healing. Yeah. So I hope that's super helpful, by the way. Yeah. So if anybody wants to learn more about NLP, basically NLP can boost your influence, it can enhance your communication skills, it can really help you understand human behavior and master the techniques to connect with people on a deeper level. So once you understand somebody at a deeper level, once you know how that person is operating at the unconscious level, you can speak directly to that client's unconscious mind, and that's how you have the ability to influence clients. So since I learned NLP, basically I've had an 80 to 90% conversion rate with my clients, and that's simply because I understand how that client's operating at the unconscious level. Does that make sense? So who thinks here that it would be super powerful to know exactly what your client is thinking and feeling and how they are operating? Yeah. So for those of you who have learned NLP before, I really encourage you to flex those skills as much as possible. So when you're talking to somebody, I want you to recognize, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? But not only that, that's the surface level stuff. You really want to be asking yourself the question, what's driving that? What's the actual underlying thing that's driving that behavior? Yeah. So NLP offers a range of tools, techniques, strategies to build rapport, use effective language patterns, helps you pick up on verbal and nonverbal communication. You can use different types of techniques. It can help you establish that trust, that credibility, build rapport, understand people on a deeper level, and create that trust as well. So if anyone's interested in learning NLP, what we teach at the Academy, at Advanced Mind Academy, is basically we do triple certification programs. So we teach Neuro-Linguistic Programming, timeline therapy, and NLP coaching. So we offer an international training and certification program, and we can take you through multiple different levels of your program. So we can take you through practitioner, master practitioner, or even trainer's training level. So if anybody wants to know more, please do feel free to reach out. We can have a chat with where you're at. Even if you've learned practitioner and you want to come back and do a refresh, our next training is coming up in May. It's 6 full days. It's live online, so it's fully interactive. You can dial in from anywhere in the world. It's done via Zoom. You're in the room with myself and amazing coaches and students from across the globe. You get all of your digital manuals, certifications, access to Zoom links. You get real-time coaching practice. So you're actually getting live coaching assessment and feedback in the training. You'll get access to all of the recordings as well. We also give you lifetime access to our coaching community. We do weekly inner circle meetings. And then we also give you some free bonuses. So you've got a month of one-on-one coaching with myself personally after the training. So you can reach out at any time, whether you want to use that for self-mastery, whether you want to learn how to implement it with your business, or whether you're working with some clients and want some tips on how to actually work with your clients more effectively. We also give you a free NLP ebook for coaches. And you get 6 months access to our inner circle as well. It's over about $8,500. And we're doing it for just $4,000. So it's a ton of value. It's probably one of the cheaper NLP training and certifications out there. I know when I was going through my training as a practitioner, I think my practitioner training was about $5,500. And then I think my other one was about $7,500, $8,000. So now, for those of you who are interested or would love to know more, I am offering a discount today. So simply just send me a message. Feel free to reach out, where I will drop $1,000 off that price. So you can get it for $2,995, which is amazing. And if you are listening to this and you really want to take advantage, I do want to make it a no-brainer. So for those of you that really want in, if you want to take advantage of the savings, for the first 3 people to message me, I will even throw in a second ticket for free for your partner or your business partner or a friend or family member. So you get 2 tickets for the price of just 1. But if that's something that you are interested in, certainly feel free to let me know. Reach out. You can connect with me on Facebook or Messenger, or send me a private message, or simply connect with us at Advanced Mind Academy. I can answer any questions there. Before we wrap up for the day, I would love to know, does anybody have any questions, or what was your biggest takeaway for today? So Elizabeth, did that relate or resonate in relation to what you've learned previously? Put a message, kind of, yep. Okay, cool. Tahi, I'd love to know, because I know that you've learned practitioner level of NLP. Was there anything from that presentation that you thought, okay, I need to learn more about that, or I need to flex that muscle a little bit more? Is there anything that you found that really landed for you?
Yeah, it's just always that reminders and that re-ingraining of, yeah, just going a little bit deeper sometimes in that, in the sales process especially. And then, yeah, remembering to pre-frame that in my content and do, always work on growing and looking at how I'm talking and how I'm interacting and getting better every day.
Beautiful. Yeah, and it's just practice, right? I love that. Bridget, for you, was there anything that sort of landed today for you, or a reminder of anything, or anything that you thought, oh, I haven't really been flexing that one?
Yeah, it was about the sales, about how you should, really start with their need before you throw up all your stuff all over them.
Yeah.
And then to link the value of your program with their need. I've heard it before, but it sunk in today.
Oh, beautiful. I'm so glad. Yep. And it really is so super crucial to find the person's need before you start sharing your program, because you're going to speak in your own language if you do it unconsciously, if that makes sense. So if you're being unconscious about it, then you're just going to start sharing things in your own language, and you're going to miss the entire thing from the beginning. That you've got to understand what's the client's language, what is that client's need, and then you get to communicate in their style, in their way, and you're speaking directly into their need. So that's really cool. Let me just say, I have a comment for you. Instead of saying, if you would be interested in this, send me a message, you could say, if you think this would help you, send me a message. Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. Thank you. Good feedback. Something I learned from the NLP. Yeah, I love it. Thank you for that feedback. That's awesome. I feel like there is infinite learning to be had with NLP. Yeah, so Stacey, that's so true. When I did NLP as a student, I actually did 4 NLP practitioner trainings with different trainers, and I did 2 master practitioner trainings with different trainers, just because I really wanted to understand and learn it. And every single time you learn it, you learn something new. So the very first time you learn it, it's like information. The second time you learn it, you start to get confirmation. And then the third time you learn, it's like solidification. It really starts to come in and drop in that little bit deeper. So it's really, it's really understanding on a much, much deeper level. I feel like I've hardly scratched the surface. Looking forward to May. Yes, Stacey's going to be there in May. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I think Tahi and Craig's going to come back for a refresh as well. Putting it out there. I do want to see the kitten. Elizabeth, I was wondering what you just picked up there. Show us the kitten. And the kitten's going to be famous on Facebook too, by the way. Oh my goodness. What a little cutie. How old is she?
She is about a week and 2 days old. It's okay, Mama.
Oh, beautiful.
There's 4 kittens. 3 of them are mostly white, and this one's black. And they're so adorable.
That is so beautiful. So for those that are watching the recording, if you would be interested to learn anything more about NLP, or about leadership, or about communication, or about increasing sales, certainly feel free to reach out, send us a message. I'm going to stop the live streaming on Facebook.